Please, Alberto. Ricci, Guardia Forestale, Restaurant. Good morning. Forestry is fine. Ex-forestal body, which is the specific group of foresters which are on the ground working with the environment. So let's talk about your role. We all want to follow good practices and protocols, but we have to have monitoring and physical controlling sanctions, interventions. So let's start by talking about the procedures you used to monitor the Natura 2000 sites in Lombardy, so the 10 procedures. Yes, can you please tell me something about them? Well, the title of my speech is wanted to have a final question mark, surveillance as a conservation way and question mark, but we realized that it's not a question actually. And we decided that the surveillance is definitely a preservation measure because the best preservation and protection measures of habitats and protected species, if they're not respected, can be not as effective. So we in Life project we started when the project started in 2016, 2014, the region wanted us as partners in this Life IP project, and we were very happy to do it. As the general director was saying, I arrived when the project had already started, and it was very nice to start working on it in the last couple of years. I really wanted to be in this project, and it's a completely innovative project for us. I think that for me it was incredible, and when we became in 2017 foresters after 3 years, we did not find any changes and all readaptations. So for us, still is an honor to be part of this project. So let's see what we had to deal with. So scientists and experts would say everything is wrong in this chart, and probably it is. The sites are 46. These are not square kilometers, otherwise it would be whole Lombardy, but it's hectares, or 3,500 meters, but we, with all the work, these things can happen. But I put different managing entities and also different actors. I could have just said many instead of putting a figure in there. Let's see. In theory, let's try and understand the project, the concept. These are different areas. And we said that the problem for the surveillance, biodiversity of surveillance. So we are here with 70 forestal stations, 270 people that think about it. But there are provincial police stations and police offices, administrations and institutions, police administrations with surveillance tasks on a provincial scale. There are the park guards. So an ecosystem of institutions, surveillance institutions that used to communicate not much, did not use to communicate much with the managing entities as well. but that's something that it's inherent to the complexity of the system due to the different habitats, organizations, and so on, but also due to objective reasons for objective reasons. So we, in this project, try to be on the front lines of a surveillance system, because there are many of us across all the Lombardy region territory. We have 70 stations distributed in all territories, all provinces, and we wanted to be at the front line to try and rationalize and create surveillance system which is rational, functional, effective, of course, in a view of making all the system more effective and efficient. So just try and understand who had to decide what and the different tasks and all of this. So yes, that's the reason. Indeed, another important problem was the lack of culture. We started talking about biodiversity, Rio conference in 90s, but then 2000, I used to work at the park of Stelvio. There was a sanctuary. There were 5 parks. In the parks, there was nature protection, regional parks, national parks, but all of this was not connected. And I remember that I lived this experience this way. So the thing about biodiversity, network, ecological corridors are things that are recently, that we have recently talked about. So there was a lack of culture by the surveillance forces, by ourselves, our foresters, and there was a lack of ability to fully understand the importance of biodiversity. So there was the need to train everyone. Then we had to rationalize the activities. So if it's 300, 400 people of us in Lombardy, and everyone does what they want to in an independent way, that would be an upside down, basically, of the classic joke about police officers. So coordination is central, and foresters took this role. I think that that's the most important reality. But we are trying to make it true. So we decided.
Abbiamo creato, lo vedremo.
We decided to create some surveillance procedures. So through a preliminary work that was very complex, and I'm going to sum up, a work of recovery of a collection of all the previous data on the projects, the knowledge of all problems of the 145 sites, so physical interviews that was to us as foresters and other partners, of course, material interview with all the managing bodies of all websites to put all of it in the charts and write the threats, well, the real or perceived threats. So then there was a summarizing kind of work to process studies, to put in relation the threats and the habitats. So the intensity of the threat, level of sensitivity of a priority species or the priority habitat, about the threats that the managing bodies told us, to try and find priority classes to intervene on with specific actions. And this was a very huge study carried out by the companies written in there that created the scientific basis for this kind of work. So there was a creation of protocols in order to make these actors clear what they had to do. So these were the procedures. We thought about 10. I just brought one. Of course, with our contribution and knowledge, we identified 10 procedures that had to be standardized in order to be part of it and this project and territories at the right moment. We, as foresters, but we want to share these procedures and the outcomes of these controlling actions with the managing bodies so that we could contribute and help them to do their policies of protection and management and share it with other colleagues of provincial police offices so that data could have been put together, of course, because if they collect them in a different moment, there is a problem. So what's a procedure? We found 10 problems, 8 all over the territory, Gepetto and Pelobate, where there are these kind of species. And then a procedure is a document made of different parts, starting from the motivations of the procedure. So why we have to take care of protection, how to do it, and how we will do it. So the sites that have livestock and where we have to find something so how to manage it, load it. Of course, they have to be Natura 2000 sites that have this inside. We don't have to talk about alpine meadows and so on, but the other activities for the level of the sea and some territories where there are thousands of animals passing by. So the need to have someone that intercepts these activity to give them rules and so on. Then there was a part of indication of the sites where the procedures are applied to, a chart, the bodies interested, and all the actors involved, the application periods, and so on. It is also important, which for a thing that is complicated, is the theme of the laws to be applied, which is difficult. So you do it according to the different areas, and you give indications on what you have to do based on the specific areas. That's of course a part of a document that has to be updated. Yes, we don't know the article, so don't worry. Anyways, the thing is that getting closer to one of the sites, whoever has to intervene knows what to do, what the site has, the kind of biotope, the problems, what to keep an eye on in which periods of the years, the protocols, how to intervene, and if there is something to control, the right tools. They can be administrative tools or other kind of tools for the implementation. What do we have to talk to for any administration fees? Well, since we noticed that the fees that we can apply in these sites are fees that are lower than the one you apply outside the sites of Natura 2000, this could be a problem, and it happens for many reasons. It can happen, but there are fees that are not proportion to the damage to the ecosystem within a site of Natura 2000 if compared to another sites when you have to apply the same rule. So we should do a specific work of adaptation and adjustment. So the procedure ends with a checklist that is given to our staff that when they check on the basis of a planning, rationalization, and so on, the specific territories, and when they go in the field of one of this procedure, they complete a checklist, they fill a checklist, which is collection, collection of data kind of work, and it will be necessary to share this data with the managing bodies by creating one chart for the examination. So very quickly, it's not nice as the yellow-bellied toads, but life is also made of numbers. So our office is on the territory in 2-3 years of experimentations gave us 300 charts. This as 2022 data. We use 260 units of our staff, 10 procedures, 75 stations, and from the collection of this figure, of process of these figures, everything can come. This as an example of the 100 graphs we can do and charts we can do about the gazing, so the characteristics of grasslands, statistics about the controls by province, but it's just examples. The procedures that we used, you can see that this is widespread and it is very wide used because there is a huge volume, and the anthropogenic use is very used. So as 7% on average are the sanctions, the fees that we apply. And there's more to think about in this regard in the protected sites. Production of reports, such as the one you can see below, so the annual report on the activity, and training thanks to the region. So passive actors that join to these training programs. And that was to create a common language, a common knowledge, a team that is able to act specifically, but we'll talk about it after with Cristina Bollini. So yes, very quickly, some activities that I have summed up. Just a few. Here is Varese, my city. These were some activities we did on the territory. This is this chart where we put everything we had to write. This was an activity in 2019. People in Varese that were gangs of fishers that are not supposed to do this, that create problems with dynamites, electric fish nets, and Of course, it was difficult, but we are facing this problem. But of course, stopping this can cause more problems to the ecosystems. This is the report. Then we have, well, motocross, sport activity. That's a chart of the control we did in a specific day. On a specific day, they received a fee. They were chased because, of course, they escaped. So we tried and chased them. Our colleagues were great at it. I think one of them is one with us, so they caught them, or they caught them right immediately after. This is the anthropogenic activities, or well, sport activities that, of course, in the Natura 2000 sites are forbidden in 90% cases. So there is a full ban on doing this. And eventually, just because it had an important meeting, the assessment of incidents. So one of the procedures that we wanted to improve is this one. This was not that well known a few years ago, and we created these prevention tools to assess the incidence of the risk of incidents of the specific of a specific project that can have on the site. So a lot of training on this topic, the creation of a control chart, a control sheet. In the cornfield, there was supposed to be 26 hectares of wood, but it was created as a cornfield was created instead, an area of 10 hectares. We left it there in the province of Pavia.